Step 1 for students in the writing process is planning. This is where they need to start thinking of ideas for their paper and planning ways to write. Online resources can be a big help, but I know that I can't just make my students look for resources on their own. Instead, I went out and found some resources for them, which I then shared through our course management site and through in-class activities. One example of a helpful resource is the text on the left. This is a descriptive piece from the Iowa State website about an important building on campus. Reading a descriptive paragraph like this will help students get ideas about the genre they are writing in. I had my students look at this piece online and find places where the text used sensory language to describe the building. That way, they had an authentic example of what the assignment wanted them to use. Another resource I gave my students was a page from the website Purdue OWL. This website is a very credible source for writing help, and this particular page on the right lists lots of ideas and strategies for students to use when they are brainstorming. Step 2 for students is the drafting stage. This is where they need to actually write the content that will go into their essay. Depending on their writing style, students may or may not have outlined or planned their essay before this step. For myself, and for many students, simply getting words onto the page is the hardest step in the writing process. Therefore, I like to keep this step as simple as possible. I encourage students to write their drafts using a word processing program, like Microsoft Word or Pages, and to focus on getting all of their ideas written down. Another technology I sometimes recommend to students for this step is Google Docs. Google Docs lets students access their essay from any device, so they don't need to worry about staying in one place to write. It also tracks how long they are active in writing, and this can be helpful for making sure they are putting in enough time and effort for each assignment. When they are revising, students need to be focused on the content of their essay. They need to make sure that they are actually fulfilling the goals of the assignment. In my case, I want to make sure that they have picked one place on campus and are focusing on 2 to 3 aspects of that place. To help students check the content of their essay and revise, I provide them with an assignment sheet and a detailed rubric. I share these documents with students using a course management system, in my case, Moodle. Once a document has been posted on the Moodle, then students can download and access this document whenever they would like. This allows them to go over the content of their essay and make sure that it fits what the assignment sheet is asking them to do. Once the essay has been revised, I have students focus on editing. Editing is when students should focus on major grammar and spelling errors. There are a lot of tools to help students do this. My favorites are Grammarly and spellcheck. Grammarly is a system that monitors student writing and offers feedback on errors they make in spelling, grammar, and punctuation. I really like it because it doesn't just fix the mistake, it also gives an explanation so that the student can learn why what they typed is wrong. There's a free version of Grammarly that students can download, or they can also purchase a more in-depth version of the software. Spellcheck is a similar tool to Grammarly that's built into most word processing tools. It underlines mistakes in spelling and grammar and suggests corrections. I always tell my students to look at the spellcheck feedback, but to still look for errors themselves, since the program sometimes misses errors. The final step in the writing process is proofreading. Proofreading assumes that students have already found all of the major errors in an assignment and that they are now focusing on little things like punctuation and formatting. At this step, I encourage students to use the Purdue OWL website again, this time focusing on their pages on MLA formatting. This style of formatting might be new to students, and Purdue OWL has detailed instructions and lots of examples for them to look at. Proofreading might also be when students ask someone else to look at their draft and give feedback. I have students use Google Docs or email to share their writing with their peers or with me.